All right. Well, Karthik, it was good to meet you.
Yes.
And today, what we'll do is over the next 10 minutes or so, I'll guide you through a little awareness around the mind breath connection and why the mind breath connection is important for meditation. We'll also talk a little bit about how to watch the breath and how to
Mhm.
brief practice. And then we'll talk about a actual technique in meditation called Hong Sau and the components of it. And then I'll also guide you through a short practice of Hong Sau together. Finally, I'll discuss a little bit about the expansion stage of meditation. Um, but to start, Karthik, the mind breath connection is something that we like to point out to beginner meditators. It may be one of those things that you might think, oh, that's obvious. Of course, there's a mind breath connection. But some people, it takes a reminder. Like, for example, maybe you're rushing to get to a meeting and you're looking everywhere for your sunglasses, and then you realize they're on your head. Well, you went from frantically breathing and running around to finding them, kind of taking a deep breath, like, whew, they were with me the whole time. Well, that mind breath connection is something we need to think about when we're going into relaxing for meditation. So, one of the best examples I think is if you're reading a book and you're sitting there, you're taking deep breaths, you're really centering yourself. It gives you the ability to concentrate more deeply on what you're reading. Maybe, for example, you're reading something that's challenging to understand, and you consciously take a couple minutes to breathe deep and center yourself so you can really absorb what you're looking at. So the same goes for meditation. If we can calm our mind through a quiet breath, we can go deeper into our concentration. And meditation is broken into two parts, really, getting there, and then once we're actually there, experiencing the fruits of our efforts. And so relaxation and concentration, which we'll talk more about with watching the breath and the technique Hong Sau, will get us to that expansion stage where we can really go deep and enjoy it. Um, the other thing we think about is watching the breath. So not
Mhm.
actively controlling it, but becoming a witness in the moment and releasing control of the breath, letting it come and go naturally. Most of the time in our lives, we do let the breath come and go naturally. It's not something we consciously are putting effort forth. You've been breathing ever since you were alive and born. And probably 99% of that time, you haven't really thought about it a whole lot. But sometimes when we close our eyes and sit in meditation, that can be something we want to control. We may think, oh, I need to do this right. I need to focus on the breath. And the control piece can be something where, it can hinder our relaxation and our concentration. So, to watch the breath, one of the things we're going to do is pay attention to the flow of the breath as it goes through our nostrils at a point that we feel the breath flowing through most clearly. Um, and so we're not going to focus on the point in the nose. We're going to focus at the point at the flow of the breath so we can feel it coming and going. And one thing, let's just try together, Karthik, practicing feeling the flow of the breath. So
Mhm.
if you want to take a second and sit upright with a straight spine, you can put your hands at the junction of your abdomen and your thighs, upturned in a receptive mode. And sit up with your chest open, your shoulders slightly back, and your chin parallel to the ground. And at this point, we're going to raise the gaze of our eyes, as we discussed previously in the last lesson on how to raise the gaze of our eyes and close our eyes. And to start, we're just going to take a moment and breathe normally. Now I invite you to take a large breath in through your nose and then let it all out. And after you let it completely out, just let the breath come and go completely on its own. No control, just naturally breathing without trying to control it. And now find the point in your nose where you feel the flow of the breath the most clearly. And concentrate on the flow of the breath at that point. right, and you can open your eyes and come back. Karthik, how did that feel? Were you able to focus on the flow of the breath at the point in your nose you felt it most clearly?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I was feeling like, oh, I want to do this for at least another 10, 15 minutes. It felt very peaceful, because I'm in the middle of the day right now and I'm going through all these other work meetings and stuff. And this is such a nice break.
Perfect. Well, we'll get another opportunity to practice in just a little bit. The next thing I want to talk about with you is a technique we call Hong Saw. And the technique has a couple parts to it. And the first part is the mantra. And a mantra in Sanskrit means tool of the mind. And the mantra that Hong Saw comes from is Aham Saha, which is a Sanskrit mantra that is I am spirit or I am he. And as a more spiritually inclined person, like I know you are, that can sit really well. Some people, maybe think about it as I am the universe, or we're trying to tap into this oneness. But Hong Sa is a bija, which is meaning seed from the mantra. So Hong Sa is not the full meaning of I am he, but it is a vibration that helps us remind ourselves that we are one with all. Hong is a dissolving sound and vibration. So as we say Hong, our I self, our big ego is starting to come into the one with all. And Sa is a soothing. So Hong is like song, and Saw is like you're sawing something, SAW, saw. And Hong Saw together is dissolving and soothing. And we do this mantra to help relax, to help concentrate our mind. And it's a technique to get us deeper into meditation. The other aspect of this technique, so we have watching the breath, Hong Saw, the mantra, which will be affirming and chanting to ourselves mentally, not out loud. We also will be curling our right forefinger in and out as we breathe. So as we inhale, and we're not consciously inhaling, we're watching the breath as it comes in, we're curling our right forefinger just slightly, and then as we exhale, we're extending it slightly. And that's another piece of helping us concentrate more deeply on the practice. So since I know you're excited to take a little break from work, why don't we put everything we just practiced together? So let's take a moment, and again, let's center ourselves and find a nice grounded seat with a straight upright spine. Open our chest, our shoulders back, our chin parallel to the ground, and let's find our upturned gaze. And take a moment to breathe through your nose. Your hands are rested at the junction of the abdomen and the thighs, upturned in receptivity. And take a deep breath in and let it all out. And let the breath come in naturally on its own accord. Begin to watch the breath by finding the point in your nose where you feel the flow of the breath most clearly. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back to the flow of the breath at the point you feel it most clearly. Now let's add the mantra Hong Saw. As you inhale, repeat mentally Hong. As you exhale, repeat to yourself mentally Saw. Inhale Hong. Exhale Saw. Now let's add the final component of curling our right index finger in as we inhale, chanting Hong, and extend it slightly as we exhale, chanting Saw. Watching the breath, chanting Hong, Saw, and curling the right index finger in with the in breath and out with the out. And in this technique, we'll breathe in through the nose deeply, and then exhale through the nose and mouth 3 times. And take a moment to feel the breathless state without any breathing, holding the breath out as it feels comfortable. And then you can open your eyes, come back to the room. How did that feel, Karthik?
Oh, it felt great. Yeah, thanks. Really, also really like the explanation of the Hong Sa mantra and the origin. It was great.
Awesome. Well, so the last thing we'll talk about, Karthik, is that's part of the getting there stage. Once we've actually arrived, we want to go deep in our expansion stage of meditation. And I'll guide you through the expansion stage of meditation in the next lesson. But for now, just a quick understanding is getting there techniques. That's like, driving to the beach, right? We get in the car, we pack all our stuff up, we drive a few hours, and we get to the beach. Well, if we just turn around and head back home at that point, we're missing the beautiful part of strolling along the shore or swimming or bathing in the sun. Like getting there in meditation, the next part, the expansion stage, is where we can really go deep. We can focus on one of the 8 aspects of the divine. And we'll talk more about the 8 aspects in the next lesson. But just briefly, those are love, joy, peace, calmness, wisdom, light, sound. And so something to look forward to. But thanks for participating today, Karthik.
That was awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this lesson.
Awesome. Cool.
Stop recording.